You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Good morning, everyone. This is iWalter. I am Walter. It's May 1st. So welcome, everybody, to another weekend starting soon. It is 2:41 a.m. right now. At this very moment, though, I'm actually watching a night gallery. I'm going to go to bed soon and get ready for work yet again on a Friday. This week went really fast. Hopefully I didn't lose too many listeners with my afternoon show. Anyway, it was kind of funny. I wasn't going to do a show tonight. I figured I did two already for Thursday. So I thought I filled everything in that I needed to talk about. But I always can find something. I'm going to keep it lighthearted tonight, though. I'm going to keep this probably the shortest one of all. But, yeah, I was watching Night Gallery. It was an episode, one that I actually really liked. And it's called Pickman's Model. It's actually based off of a short story by H.P. Lovecraft. So, with these monsters that basically basically, according to the story that, from Night Gallery, it's about these creatures, these hideous creatures that basically fed on dead corpses and basically bred with, procreated with women they would steal off the streets. That was one of the more haunting night galleries, I guess. That one was very dark and very creepy. So it was on tonight, and I'm just going to make a quick look at one of my favorite things, Drudge, but there's probably nothing on there because I'm going to try to keep this pretty simple tonight. But yeah, I mean, if you ever get a chance, and it was funny because it's on this channel called Me TV, and actually I was looking on Facebook, and lo and behold, Me TV actually does have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, Instagram, and Pinterest, which I don't really use. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good station. I don't know if you get it within your area. If you live in the Philly area, you definitely should get it. But it is called Me TV, and it says it was co-founded in 2010. So yeah, they got a lot of really good classic TV shows. I mean, I love them, so I actually picked up a few of them after watching the station for a while. Yeah, so I'm going to keep this very lighthearted tonight. I had actually an interesting night tonight because I came into work, and as usual, it came with the same thing I normally do where, was left with way too much work. And it was funny because, I mean, people can surprise you. I just am very cautious on anyone because of the way I've been burned in the past, I guess I should say. But the one woman that, I don't know, I think she just feeds off this other person that she works with, our coworker. She feeds off of, she's like a bad influence, this one coworker to the other one. And I asked her, I said, oh, okay, where's your partner when I came in? Because I work by myself. And the girl said, oh, I said, was she here today? And she said, oh, yeah, she was. But apparently I didn't see her, so she probably, basically left work before you're supposed to. And she was covering for her. So I was not in a good mood when I came in today. It was going to be okay. It's going to be another one of these nightmarish evenings or afternoons coming into work and just getting very upset about it. I apologize because while I'm doing my show, I'm looking at these really creepy pictures of Pickman's Model because it was actually a lot of drawings. And they based the Night Gallery episode off these drawings. And they did a really good job. I would actually recommend, if you can ever catch Night Gallery, I definitely would recommend it. Anyway, getting back to my main point. This girl, I mean, she might have did it for her own reason too, but I didn't, I try to have a little bit of optimism, which is very hard for me with people, considering, especially at my job. Well, anyway, this one girl, she actually stayed behind for an hour and she helped me fix some paperwork up. So I was still angry because there was a lot of work left for me, but they claimed to had cleaned a room, which I know they did not because I could tell. And, you know, the way I look at things, you try to find optimism in people, no matter how far you have to their reach. So I figure, you know what, this girl woman actually helped me a lot today with some paperwork. She actually sat down and helped me figure it out. So I figure, you know what, I'm gonna do the which would something would be not normal for me. You know, the fact that she helped me out. You know, I turned around and actually straightened up this room they proclaimed to have cleaned. And I only did it just because, you know, okay, I'm going to let this one slide for once because you actually helped me for a change. You didn't totally screw me over. So I guess my point is, you know, as long as people, I think most people think this way, but as long as someone treats you like a human being and treats you with respect, I think you will reciprocate that. I think I said that word correctly, but I'll try this again. You reciprocate that back to them. Like, okay, you know, you did something, you know, out of respect for me. I mean, I'm sure there was other motives too, but, you know, I'm going to return it no matter what the reason was because you actually did help me. So anyway, like I said, it's going to probably be like a 10-minute show. There was something I actually buried away, and I want to try to dig it up. So I'm going to take a short break because I was watching. I might mention a little bit about that. I don't have really any wacky stories that came up right away, and I'm looking at Drudge, and there's not much on there to feed off of tonight. So I'm going to take a short break, and I will be back. Just give me a moment.
You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Okay, hey, it's Walter. I'm back again. I apologize about that. Yeah, I just had to get up to find this paper. I wrote it down. I was watching. I bought these movies on iTunes. I had them at one point. I actually had a poster years ago, and it was the original Doctor Who motion pictures. There was two of them with the Daleks. Before I get into that, it was kind of interesting because I turned around because Night Gallery is on right now. I own them all, but it's neat to, for some reason, you ever own something, but you still have to watch it on TV. Like, you get some different types of type of excitement out of watching it, even though you own it. I don't know why, but I do that all the time. I think some other people do. I don't know. But, yeah, it was one called... you know what, I can't remember. It's something cool where this man had to actually, he had to keep, like, before they even had air conditioner, he had to keep lots of ice to keep him alive. Like, he was trying to pretty much be immortal, and he found a way to do so, but he had to keep his temperature really low or live in extreme cold. I think it's something Cool Air, I think is the name of the episode. It's actually really good. They're showing the more morbid night galleries tonight. So, but yeah, that one was one of my faves. So, but yeah, getting back to what I was mentioning, yeah, I was watching again because I like these. These were the classic Doctor Who's. They had, I'm trying to look for it right now. I'm not going to take another break if I don't have to. So I'm kind of looking them up right now. Anyway, they were the original Doctor Who motion pictures. I probably should just look it up online. But it was I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name who played Doctor Who. So I'm going to look it up. Doctor Who and the Daleks. Sorry about that. I'm looking at it right now. These were really good movies, actually, and at the time when I first saw them, I wasn't too impressed by them. I just knew they existed. Yeah, it was Peter Cushing. Now, if anybody's familiar with Peter Cushing, he was very famous into all the British horror movies. I forget the name of that because it's still around, believe it or not. But yeah, he played Doctor Who in both the first and second motion picture. It really was a motion picture, too. He actually also, I believe he played in Star Wars, the original Star Wars, too. But, yeah, it's in mid-1960s. And, it was the Hammer films. I always want to say Hammerhead, but it's Hammer Films. Yeah, Cushing played in a lot of those, Peter Cushing. He was actually born the 26th of May, 1913, and he died August 11th, 1994. But, yeah, the two Doctor Who movies, it was kind of funny because if you know Peter Cushing, he never had a mustache. But when he did both those motion pictures of Doctor Who, now you're talking like the early 60s. It was not too long after Doctor Who actually came out. You know, because the movie came out of the second episode of Doctor Who ever shown, which was about the Daleks. And it was supposed to be following the realm of William Hartnell, which I personally love Hartnell the best. Out of all the Doctors, I like, not only because he was the first one, in general, I liked William Hartnell. I thought he was really good. He actually had a difficult time with his lines, and it's funny, if you see Hartnell, though, by the way, the man looked like he was in his 70s. He was only, like, in his early or about his mid-50s. But he looked much older, and he died a premature death. Because, yeah, he only did 3 seasons of Doctor Who, and coming up on the 3rd season, he got really sick, and they basically had to decide what they wanted to do because the show was really popular after the 3rd season. It had taken off. So that's when they introduced the character of the Cybermen for the first time, a way of explaining how, they already knew that the Doctor was an alien, but, they wanted to continue the show, so they tried something really risky, and they actually got a completely different actor to play the part who did play extremely different, but it did really well, and they've been doing that ever since. Anyway, getting back to this, I bought these movies. I owned them on VHS at one point, and then I got rid of them. I think my mother might have bought them for me on DVD, maybe Blu-ray. I think it was DVD, and I like to get them again, but I figure, you know what, I just like that just digital copies because you don't have to worry about losing them. So I bought them on iTunes. I think it was like $9 a pop, and I bought both those movies. So I can watch them anywhere, anytime, any device I have that's an Apple device. But yeah, these movies came out again in the mid-60s, and they still, they hold up better now than they originally did. But yeah, Hartnell was obviously, the original Doctor Who, and all the rest. He's an alien, the Doctor. In the movies, because they had a dispute with the BBC, and the guy who actually originally made the Daleks for the TV series, he was able to, have this movie produced without, without getting in any trouble with the BBC, even though they owned the rights for the character of the Doctor Who and also the TARDIS. They couldn't stop the movie from being made. So there was a big dispute. So the downfall was when Peter Cushing played a part. I think that's the only time I've ever seen Peter Cushing with a mustache was when he played Doctor Who. So obviously they wanted to make sure the character, they couldn't say, well, this character looks just like the one from the TV series. So that was number one. They couldn't stop them from using the police box because there is no license. You can't license a police box. So they were able to use that, but they couldn't license the interior of the TARDIS. So it was completely different. They changed the character base quite a bit. And they also made the Doctor an Earthling. He was an Earthbound, which he isn't. He's not an Earthling at all. He's a alien from another planet. So there was a lot changed, but the one thing that really intrigues me about these movies is it was a really well scripted film. Both of them. I think the first one I actually liked better, but that one was more closely tied to the first one. Actually, both were tied to Doctor Who episodes. But if you ever watch, or you could buy it, it's called Doctor Who and the Dialects. I think that's the name of it. It was this basically, it's the second episode ever aired of Doctor Who. You will notice that that movie, which was in Keller with Peter Cushing, is pretty much a mirror reflection of the second episode. It's very close. But the thing that really stuck in my mind, because I thought Peter Cushing did a really good job with the part, I wrote it down, was that he's talking to I think it's the Thals. I forget if the Daleks were the Thals or not, but because there was two different races on the planet of Skaro. That's where the Daleks came from. Anyway, basically the Daleks obviously don't get along with I'm going to say it was the Thals. So they basically want the other race genocide. So I guess even then, because I know there was one called Genesis of the Daleks, they basically kind of make a better impression that the Daleks are like no better than the SS or the Nazis. You know, they kind of pointed that out more so with Genesis of the Daleks. But the original Daleks episode was supposed to be one episode, one episode, and that's it. So they never thought, okay, Daleks are going to be in the universe of Doctor Who forever. They only thought it was going to be that one-time deal. So when it was really popular, they obviously had to bring them back and they had to change things about them. But they didn't really alter the design to this day. So if you watch Doctor Who, the ones you see now, they're slightly taller, or actually a lot taller, but they are actually, the design is pretty much the same as it was back in 1963. There wasn't that much of a change. So anyway, there's a thing where the Doctor's talking to the Thals, and the Thals were like perplexed on why the Daleks hate these people, and it was like that's what the one Thal says to the Doctor in the movie, and also in the TV series, because I can't remember that one. I have to watch that again. But the Thal basically says, "Why do they want to kill us?" And the Doctor's response is, which was Peter Cushing for the film, it's because you are different from them, and they are afraid of anything different. So I thought that was really well written, but then he says in the next sentence, and what people are afraid of, they try to destroy. So it was just the way he said it that was really, really intriguing to me. So, yeah, I mean, and the other thing that really holds up more so nowadays than it did back then was when you watch Doctor Who when I was growing up, and even it blew my mind because I watched it started with Tom Baker, and later on I watched. I was confused because when I was watching Tom Baker, I'd also see John Pertwee, and then it went back to Tom Baker. And it's like, what's going on here? They already all of a sudden changed the actors. Now Pertwee came before Tom Baker, and then it kept on changing. It was like, what's going on here? And then when I finally got to see how this man changed all the time, the character, but it was the same person. I mean, the same character, a different person. And when you figured it out, it was like, wow, this is incredible. But the one thing that never changed, and I tell you, the first time I saw that when Doctor Who was at its peak back in the 80s, is it got so popular they decided, well, you know what? We're going to show you the ones that still remain and did not get destroyed or lost. We're going to show you all the episodes. We're going to show you whatever's left of Hartnell's and what's ever left of, what do you call it? Patrick Troughton. And that blew my mind. But when I for the first time back in the 80s when they decided, okay, we're going to show you the Doctor Who's from day one. So they literally pull up An Unearthly Child, the very first episode. I swear to God, it just sent chills down my back, and it just really intrigued me because the TARDIS looked almost exactly the same as it did back with Tom Baker. So they didn't change it that much. So when I saw, getting back to the movie again, of Doctor Who and the Daleks with Peter Cushing, it was like, well, this was completely different. It wasn't the TARDIS at all. And the thing that really just got me upset when I first saw the film was the police box doors led right into the TARDIS. So it was like, this is ridiculous because there's rondels all over the doors in the interior. The rondels, these round things, which is actually where is not only the power source for the TARDIS, but it was also the way the TARDIS got lit up. So, that was a turnoff when I first saw the movie of Doctor Who and the Daleks, which again was like, it was in the mid-60s. So anyway, I kind of jumped around tonight I'm talking mainly about Doctor Who, so I apologize about that. But it's a big thing for me. So I'm like watching this, it was like, wait a minute. They actually must have incorporated that idea from these movies into the new series, because if you watch the new Doctor Who, when they first brought it back with Eccleston, they did the exact same thing, and they kept that, where you actually realize that the outer shell, which is the police box, is incorporated into the interior of the TARDIS. So they may have gotten that idea from these movies. So that was really cool. So now watching it and understanding, okay, well, they revamped the show, and they've taken some bits and pieces from the old show, and then even there was a Doctor Who movie back on Fox years ago, incorporate a little bit of that into there, and then also they incorporated probably the stuff from the movies, at least with that one part of the TARDIS. It was like, okay, this really actually is, I can enjoy it more now than I could back years ago. So that was one thing. And there was another Doctor Who, the second movie actually, it was called Dalek Invasion Earth, 2150 AD. It was actually called Doctor Who and the Daleks. And then, Doctor Who and the Daleks was the first one. The second one was called Daleks Invasion of Earth, 2150 AD. Anyway, both of them did really well. But the second one actually got incorporated into one of William Hartnell's movies later on. And I believe it was actually the very last, it turned into, when they reshot it for the TV series, which was in black and white. The movies were both in color. That was actually the last episode with his granddaughter, that she actually leaves her grandfather, who was the doctor, behind, and she stays on Earth in that year. But that actually, eventually, they reshot it with Hartnell. And the movie, the theatrical version of the movie is obviously much more intense than the TV show was. But the TV show was really good. So, one of the other ones that was really good from the series, though, that I really, really liked, I would recommend even going back and forth from the TV series in the motion pictures, was one called The Metal and Monk, because that was the first time they actually ever introduced another alien from the same planet he came from. They weren't called Time Lords back then, but he was also, and it was with Hartnell, that there was another alien from the same planet he had came from. So the Doctor actually made sure that this bad Time Lord, which they weren't called then, would not meddle with time any more than he already had done so. He basically made himself look like he stuck himself in certain time periods in history so he could change, basically history altogether. So when the Doctor meets up with him, the Metal and Monk, it was like when I guess it was the Renaissance or something like that. Actually, it was I can't remember that, the Vikings, and this Time Lord covered him or made him disguise himself as a monk. And when the Doctor figured out, oh my God, he's from my planet, he made sure that he would be stuck in that time period for whatever long the man would live, because obviously you find out later on they live for centuries, these Time Lords. So anyway, that was really, there's a lot of other ones, but my main point was I was watching these movies. I was starting to watch the rest of. I was watching bits and pieces. I've seen them before, the Doctor Who and the Dalek movies, and they're really good. And if you watch them, I mean, it was actually back then, back in the 60s, it was considered a high budget, and most things were shot in black and white. So this was a movie that was shot in color, and they made it even more expensive. So, I mean, if you look in the history of it, too, it's really intriguing on those movies. So I just wanted to have a lighter show. I had a pretty heavy and intense one the night before. So, folks, it is Friday morning, so hopefully everybody enjoys their weekend. I think I will this weekend, and I'll, have one more day at my job before I, take off. So I will try to make a show and maybe even possibly, if I can, a podcast this weekend. I mean, not a podcast. I always do that, but a video cast as well. I try to at least do that for the weekends because they're a little bit more involved. So other than that, everyone, have a great weekend, and I will be back hopefully tomorrow and on sometime point on Saturday or Sunday. So enjoy your May 1st, Friday, May 1st. Have a good night, or have a good morning, I should say. So I will sign in later on.